Hello, everyone. Welcome to Pack Tactics. It's time for Barbarian. It's time to get angry.
Just like the fighter video at the end there.
Are you angry, Daniel?
Nah.
What?
I'm not gonna play marshals.
You gotta be angry.
Let's start with Rage. Even though it wasn't changed, I've seen, surprisingly, the internet talk about this quite a bit, and I'm proud of them that they noticed. Monster design has changed quite a bit recently, where instead of doing magical damage, a lot of enemies do force damage. Have you seen that?
No, this is news to me, actually.
Oh, well, important to know is that instead of like weapons doing magical bludgeoning, magical piercing, magical slashing, a lot of the times they have now made them do force damage instead, which I think, one, is just weird. That doesn't fall in line with the force damage description. But two, that heavily affects barbarians because they get resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. Doesn't matter whether it's magical or not, but it's those three damages. This has become so much worse now with the new monster design.
You really hit me with hit me sideways there. I'm like stunned. Now my analyzation's a little bit different.
Okay.
I didn't even know that.
I think that just sucks for Barbarian.
Yeah, that really sucks.
The idea of Barbarian is, at least how I interpret it, is that they resist basically non-elemental, non-special damage types. You know, that's their deal. That's normally most damage that they can receive, besides when you fight spellcasters. But now, even when you fight like a devil with a cool sword, they're gonna deal force damage to you.
But to be fair, there's some good news. You can be angry about it, and this is about anger, so, you know.
Yes, you can be very angry about it, and if you're a Barbarian player, you should probably be angry about it and give some feedback. Though, maybe don't be angry in your feedback.
Yeah, maybe don't say mean things to Crawford.
We say some mean things, but you know they're trying in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, Crawford.
I just wanted to mention this though, because even though Rage wasn't changed indirectly, at least since last playtest, indirectly it has, of course, been affected. And I don't know how they could go about this. In my opinion, just don't do the random change to force damage. But they've already done that quite a bit, so I don't know if they'll go back on that.
Yeah, who knows? Well, I mean, I don't know. I feel like lately they've been very experimental with monsters. We saw it with Monsters of the Multiverse, with the casters, and we already talked about that, right? So they might.
We also recently fought some interesting monsters from the Big Beast book who just owned one of our clerics because they didn't have the shield spell. Oof, that was rough.
Yeah, they did have their spirit guardians up. I think they were dodging, but, since we're so high level, that dodge isn't that effective anymore when they have, plus 13 to hit.
That creature just did necrotic damage instead of, slashing with their scythe, by the way.
Yeah, it was a Death Giant Reaper.
Yeah, a lot of creatures aren't doing bludgeoning, piercing, slashing damage again, and that's an issue for barbarians. I do like how Rage now can last multiple combats, because you can keep it up for, I think, 10 minutes at most, and you can basically keep it up for free out of combat. So that's cool, but it's just a lot less impressive. I approve of them making Rage more common across the day, because that's a really big issue for barbarians currently. But look at monster design again.
Normally when the barbarian is out of rage, that's common for long adventuring days. When they're out of rage, they behave very differently, because you start to see the barbarian.
You're a different class.
Yeah, you're a different class, and you see them be more cowardly, because their AC isn't that good. That really hurts the class identity itself, I feel. The increased rage is good.
Our assumption is usually that 10 minutes can include probably 2 combats if you play it well. Pretty decent uptime.
I usually include the entire dungeon, if it's a compact dungeon.
Yeah, you can do more than 2, of course.
Yeah.
It depends on the situation.
And you just ignore the loot and then loot after you've cleared the dungeon.
Yeah, it depends on the situation. Either way, Danger Sense up next. Small change. It's a little less. It's a little more lenient on when you can use it. Even when blinded or deafened, it works. Good change.
Something I do want to add to this, because we just talked about the cowardly barbarian. I do think they should have advantage on frightened.
With Danger Sense or during Rage?
I think it would fit the best in Danger Sense.
Maybe, yeah.
Because, you know...
I do think it's a big issue for barbarians when they get charmed, frightened, stuff like that.
Yeah, it is a very big problem. And, you know, like I said, you want to deliver the Conan fantasy. And Conan's not afraid of anything.
He's not going to get scared.
No, he doesn't get scared. Yeah, next...
Reckless Attack. Good changes here. I have seen a lot of confusion about Reckless Attack outside of your turn in the past because you can only activate it on your turn. What happens when you have a reaction attack, you know? But right now it says grants advantage until the start of your next turn, which means anything in between the start of your current turn and the start of your next turn, you've got advantage. That's a good change.
Absolutely. Very good.
Next change. Brutal Critical. You've made a short about Brutal Critical showing off how bad it is, right?
It's still bad. Yes.
It is still bad, yeah. They buffed it in one of the worst ways possible. I mean, there are worse ways, of course. They now allow you to do 1d12 extra damage instead of whatever your weapon dice is. And that's good, but it's still terrible damage.
I don't remember if the previous playtest, was stronger than this, but this is still... very, very bad.
If we assume you have advantage all the time, so reckless all the time, and you have 3 attacks, that means you have rounded up a 10% chance to crit per attack. Multiply by 3, multiply by 6.5. We get around 2 DPR at level 9 from this feature.
2 DPR.
That's a joke, right? Like, it's better than Flex, and Flex is overpowered, so I guess it's strong. Good that they make it more damage, but it's just so weak. It just happens too infrequently, which leads it to become bad.
I do have to give them a little bit of credit. They are genuinely trying to improve this. Because this is the third time. Is it the third time? It's the second time they've tried to make it stronger, but they just don't know how to do it.
I wish they, did it like Warlock and made it way too strong and then nerf it.
Yeah.
I like that more.
It's very interesting that they know what to do with full casters, but they have no idea what to do with these marshals. But,
it's rather sad.
Yeah.
One final thing to base Barbarian that we should probably talk about, which is persistent rage. Instead of, being infinite rage, it allows you to get a rage back at the start of initiative if you don't have one. That's fine-ish. Though personally, I think it would be way cooler if you were in rage all the time.
Yeah.
Because that also would allow you to do primal knowledge all the time. Where you're allowed to do intimidation with strength, stealth with strength. Like, if you could do that the whole day, wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, it would be super cool. And it's like what I said with the fighter, right? It's like, you are the boss, not the monsters. You're the boss monster. And if you're angry all the time, like Kratos, that's super fun. But sometimes, for some odd reason, this level 15 Barbarian gets tired and he gets scared.
Just make it that whenever you don't have use of rage, you can still rage, but make it clear that you can only rage with the same requirements as before. It's that easy.
And also keep in mind, the casters are literally have 8th level spells right now. 2 levels, and you might turn into a dragon.
Yeah, spellcasters have stuff that lasts the whole day, like Mind Blink. And that's it for Persistent Rage. I hope that they change it in a future iteration. Let's look at the subclasses, though. First off, Berserker.
From the previous playtest, they did improve Berserker significantly. Oh my god, the 5e version is unplayable.
Removing the exhaustion was a really good idea, though.
Yes.
Is that enough?
No, it is not,
no.
But it's definitely a major improvement. But this here, I would say it's not solved.
Intimidating presence. Once per long rest, you can frighten people. At this level, Antipathy Sympathy exists, which is a rock that exists for 10 days, and you can get multiple of them, and they all work at the same time.
Yeah, pathetic.
There's not much more to say about this subclass. Disappoints me. I'm happy the exhaustion is still gone, though.
Let's just quickly move away from this, and now for the the thing that everyone is mad about.
Oh yeah, I guess they are mad about part of Path of the Wild Heart. For people that have played Baldur's Gate, this name is already known to you. Apparently, Jeremy actually worked with the devs from Baldur's Gate to create the version in Baldur's Gate with the new name. This was Totem Barbarian before, of course. I'm not entirely sure why they changed the name. Maybe to move away from
Tribalism.
yeah, that may be it. I don't really care about the names like that. Maybe the first thing we can talk about, they changed all the names at the different levels so that the animals are no longer the same. I actually do quite approve of that because it makes it way easier to talk about their features. If I say, hey, what do you think about Bear from Wild Heart?
Oh, which one?
Yeah, I don't have to be more specific there.
Yes. And
I actually don't like Bear, by the way, guys. We'll talk about that soon.
yeah, we might as well talk about that now because you kind of opened the can now. So, before everyone picked Bear because, you got resistance to all except for Psychic?
Yeah.
Yes. And that included Force, which we talked about.
That included Force.
Yeah, we talked about it before, right? Well, that's gone now. Now you pick... Let's see here. You pick...
2 of them, and it can be anything but Force or Psychic. And you get it until your rage is gone, and then you pick again next time you rage. So depending on the encounter, you choose which ones you want. The idea here is probably that they want you to make some decisions for yourself, rather than being resistant to almost everything. You look at the encounter ahead and then you decide based on that. I don't think that heavily affects how powerful the feature is, because how often are you going to get more than 2 damage types that you don't already resist through rage that aren't Force or Psychic? It's more of a visual illusion than anything. I don't think it actually affects power too much that it's only 2 damage types.
In my opinion, before Rage only lasted 1 minute. And you didn't have that many rages, that old version isn't as strong as people say it is.
No, it was definitely heavily overrated, because the damage that was taken by Barbarian, it was mostly bludgeoning, piercing, slashing.
And by the way, those people who did think that feature was overpowered, they only, for the most part, from what I know, mostly had 1 or 2 encounter days.
I'm just not a big fan of this feature because it both kind of spits in the face of people that are like, oh, let's pick this subclass so I can actually have resistance to Force, which is something they just took away from base Rage, basically, with how monsters have changed. And they nerfed something that was just not that great.
Yeah, let's move on to the other animals, because we like animals.
There have been some removals here, but mostly it was just uninteresting options. At level 6, it's just skills now.
Skills and expertise. And
this is basically just the tiger aspect, by the way, in 5e, but it's split up in 3, and you can also gain expertise, potentially. I wasn't too impressed with the level 6 options in 5e. There may be something which is funny to talk about. They removed Elk Tech. Do you know what Elk Tech is?
No, I don't. What is Elk Tech?
Okay. This was a bit of a funny moment in, I think, the Tabletop Builds Discord. I'm not sure if it was anywhere else online, but Elk at level 6 allowed you to double your travel pace, whether mounted or on foot. And there is like one adventure, I won't spoil it just in case, it's not a big spoiler, but I won't say, where this actually affects the adventure quite a bit. If you can double the travel pace of your party, you can actually make it to a certain position where you otherwise couldn't make it. And there was this one person who was like, okay, this is really strong. It was just for this reason, and I really loved that. Like how there was just one situation where it was really powerful. Of course, it's not a good feature, and it's not actually that meaningful that it's gone. But Elk Tech, rest in peace.
Doesn't it become stronger with stuff like Phantom Steed?
I think Phantom Steed may not have been an option due to the area where it was at. But yeah, it does work with mounts. Rest in peace, Elk Tech.
Okay. Rest in peace, Elk Tech. Next.
Finally, at level 14, Falcon actually gives you fly speed now instead of partial fly speed.
I think it's
definitely a lot better than the other options.
I think it's incredibly funny that you get so angry that you can fly. Yeah, and I'm absolutely for that. That's just so funny. As for the other options, I don't care about them.
Especially Ram is kind of a meme because we've been joking about weapon masteries quite a bit, but really, weapon masteries just do this at level 1.
Yeah, that's correct. 14 capstone. It's so weird. It's like not even in the same scope of fly.
I think this subclass deserves buffs, but there's some quality of life stuff that they changed, so that's nice.
Next, Path of the World Tree, Yggdrasil. Just so you guys know, I live in the country where Yggdrasil is, you know? It's pretty big. I can, like, see it outside my window. I think the name of it is really cool, and I
Sure.
kind of dig the theme, but the features... Yeah, I do.
I actually think, personally, that this is way too setting specific. They are trying to say that every setting basically has something like this, but like, come on.
But
that seems very weird to me.
To be fair, I don't think it fits for the Barbarian. Like, I think this would fit better on like a druid, right?
Hmm.
And
Yeah, we still don't have a plant druid, do we?
That's a good point. Well, we have spores, we have land, but I guess they're not plants. Well, is spores a plant? But anyways, whatever. We have giants, and this is like related to giants, in my opinion. The Yggdrasil, the world tree.
I mean, Norse mythology, yeah, giants are a big part of that.
Yeah.
Sure.
So this is a little bit weird to see. As for the features, what do you think about the features?
Starting with vitality of the tree, I guess. I really dislike that you're giving other people temporary hit points instead of yourself.
Yeah, you're supposed to be the tank.
Yeah, like, also, temporary hit points has a really cool combination with Rage where they last twice as long. Or, I mean, you also, of course, take more damage, so not really twice as long. But I find it weird that it's another creature within 10 feet of you, even though the designers think you're a frontline tank, right? That's what they believe. So you're probably not even within 10 feet of an ally. So why aren't you the one who gets the hit points? Or at least why is there not an option for you to get the hit points?
Yeah, it is very weird. I do think, to be fair, like, mostly these martial features are selfless in a way where it just does something to you. I do like that you can do it to somebody else, but you should also be able to do it to yourself. That's what I think.
Yeah, I see that, yeah. What about branches of the tree? You like that one?
I wish this affected more creatures.
Interesting. Do like that you can use it in both enemies and allies, but it is still quite limited in the fact that they have to end their turn within 20 feet of you, so it's not like you can't get to them most of the time.
If you imagine yourself in a position where you're already in melee with one creature, and then another creature, for some reason, flanks your rear and goes after, I don't know, your hypothetical squishy wizard, even though they're not.
Oh, you're pulling them back. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you lose that reaction, the guy in front of you can just move right past you. You see what I mean? So, like,
True.
you think you're, like, tanking, right? Which, I mean, you kind of are, but at the same time...
Pretty big cost.
Yeah, it's a pretty big cost. And I don't think that reaction should be there.
How would you proc this effect, then?
You obviously need some sort of limit on it, right? So
would you just do as a bonus action on your turn instead?
Yeah, something like that. And then maybe if and I would make it AoE, and you know, yeah, I'm really
and make it insta kill the enemies.
Make it AoE, and then also like obviously put like a limit, like you can use this a number of times.
Oh, really? I disagree.
Oh.
I think it's way more fun if you can use stuff infinitely, but it's less powerful.
Oh, I see. Okay. But then you would prefer it to be single target, right?
That would probably be more fair, yeah.
Okay, interesting. Because I've said this before in one of the Critical Role videos when I was talking about the first tank. Like, I really want an AoE aggro feature. And this is technically a AoE aggro feature. Well, I mean,
in a way.
no, it's not an AoE aggro feature. It's an aggro feature.
Yeah, of course, not the AoE.
Yeah, I just want AoE. They just refuse to do it. But since you disagree with me, we have to fight, and we have to be really angry about it.
Yeah, I'll kill your character in our Dungeons and Dragons game.
I'm a flagship ranger. You're a squishy caster.
Very squishy.
Yeah.
Another topic. It's funny because this feature is a lot more consequential to the game than you may first realize. Because if you see this design note below, they are going to change the player's handbook to allow creatures to voluntarily fail any saving throw. That has big impact. That has a big impact to the game. That's not in like current 5e.
We've voluntarily failed.
No,
Yeah, we.
that's not allowed in our game.
Have we? I remember.
No.
I remember. Was it in our games though? I remember somebody pushed me out of melee.
I think that was telekinetic.
Yeah, and I volunteered to fail it.
No, telekinetic doesn't work like that.
Oh. Let me look up telekinetic.
Okay, well, telekinetic is like specific, right? Like it does work like that, but it specifically allows it to happen. This feature allows it to happen on anything.
Oh, it said in the feats.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes.
The big thing here is that if you planar bind a creature and you planar bind it again, and you're like, "Hey, bro, voluntarily failed that save," you planar bound it again.
Oh, interesting. That is very awkward.
Currently, willing and voluntarily is not very well defined in the game, and often in case you can just use a common sense ruling. But I don't think this is good for the game. I don't think this should be a overall change. I think this should always be specific to the feature. I think for telekinetic, yeah, that makes sense that you can use it on allies because it can be beneficial to your allies. But there's a lot of places where this will have unintended consequences, and I'm not a fan of that.
I haven't really thought about that.
I'm not sure if the designers have.
And that is a very good point. Should we just...
Let's look at the subclass a little bit more, though, before we forget.
Yes, the other ones. Battering Roots. Let's see here. Improves your melee weapon. While you wield any melee weapon, your reach increases. And then when you hit, you can push or topple. It's basically weapon masteries, as it says.
It helps with Polearm Master a bit, but this is not a very big feature. I actually like the level 14 feature, but it's just kind of a joke again if you compare it to casters, because it's basically teleportation circle, but it's once per long rest. It's level 14. I'm not. What level is teleportation circle again?
5.
It's level 5. Like, come on.
Once you use this feature, you have to do a long rest, and if you've run out of uses of this feature, you can expend 5 uses of your rage. What?
You have 5 at most at this point, by the way. That's all of your rages.
I
So
think.
it's basically saying, okay, don't have any more fights at all this day.
Yeah, I think that's really dumb.
Yeah.
And like
I agree.
like I said before, this just fits better on a druid than, a barbarian. Why is this here? Also, level 10 with the roots, I would think, oh, this is like, I don't know, Thorn Whip. That would fit for Thorn Whip. But to be fair, that wouldn't be a good feature, but I'm just saying, it just fits better on a druid. Why is this here? Anyways, moving on. Zealots.
It's definitely a top 2 barbarian in 5e. I'm not sure if I like the changes.
No. The only thing people really cared about is the level 3 feature.
Optimizers cared about Divine Fury. People that love roleplay care about Warrior of the Gods.
Oh yeah, that's fair. We don't roleplay, I'm sorry.
We never roleplay.
Anyways.
They changed Divine Fury a tiny bit. Each time you deal the damage, you can decide what kind of damage it deals. Okay, whatever. It will have some effect, not a great ton. Warrior of the Gods, you gain some more hit points a couple of times per day. It will rarely have an effect later on in the game, but at the start, it may make healing a bit more effective. I think neither of these changes were particularly necessary. I don't think they're bad either.
No, but it is whatever.
Then Zealous Presence. You can use it multiple times between long rests by expending rages. Not much to say.
Not much to say.
The thing that is much to say about is Rage Beyond Death. The 5e version was really popular, I felt like. If they've changed it, I guess maybe not. The 5e version allows you to basically keep on going even if you're knocked to 0 hit points. Have you ever had a Zealot Barbarian in your party?
No, I've never had a Zealot Barbarian. I've seen a Totem Barbarian at high levels, but I haven't seen this.
I've had a Zealot Barbarian, and okay, Barbarian, of course, pretty weak. But it was so cool to see them have the Rage Beyond Death going on. Because they just keep on battling. And that's a really cool flavor for the Zealot Barbarian. And it's also just quite powerful. Of course, it has its counters, but overall, it's pretty good. Right now, they changed it so that you have a once per long rest special form, and it only procs when you use Relentless Rage. Relentless Rage is the same point in time as the original Rage Beyond Death, but in the way they've changed the feature, I feel like they could have probably made it less limited. I just prefer the 5e version. Maybe one final thing we can say about... I do have a funny story about Rage Beyond Death that Moon has shared. Moon Silver, you guys may know him.
Moon Silver's great. If you see Moon Silver, listen to him. He's usually right.
His brother, friend of ours, Simon. Sorry, Simon, I'm putting you on the spot here, but I have to share this story. He was a zealous barbarian, jumped down a big cliff while raging, but he had no healing potions with him. So he just died after the rage was done. He was just alone at the bottom of a pit without any healing potions whatsoever. And of course, after the big fall, he was at 0. So he just died. He didn't even have to jump down. He just...
Yeah, that's a very good reason why you should keep it, because funny stories like that. And
it's also to say, take healing potions with you at all times, guys. It's important.
Have your good berries, have your scrolls, and...
your pots, everything like that. Maybe an extra funny addition to that story is that he assumed Moon would change the adventure so that spellcasters had sleep and such, which he didn't do at all.
Oh, jeez.
So he was scared for Moon making his character die in like one of those counters to the feature, but he just made his own character die. Happens to the best of us, I guess.
By the way, guys, Simon's not an optimizer. He's just a fun dude.
He's just a fun dude to play with.
Yeah, he's funny.
That's not to say that we think he's a stupid player, by the way. It's just a funny story. No. We've all done stupid stuff like that. I think you've got a video of you dying because you ran into melee to get advantage.
That was very dumb, and I hope people took like notes on that, because there are cases where you're just greedy for damage. And that when you're greedy for damage, sometimes it will punish you so hard. I think that lesson is kind of like not taught enough in D&D.
The fun thing about Rage Beyond Death is 5e that you can be greedy.
Oh yeah,
take damage.
If you have that, then go ahead.
So, fun story aside, new Barbarian. You think with the weapon masteries and changes, it's good enough?
No. I think this is just like the fighter, like I've said before. The floor has been raised, the ceiling has been lowered, and
especially for Barbarian.
Oh yeah, and the thing with the monsters that you just flanked me immediately with. Oh my god!
So we have them being more squishy. Great Weapon Master is gone, but on the other side we have Rage lasts longer and they get Weapon Masteries. I don't think it's a fair trade. I wouldn't play this Barbarian, and I don't think you would either.
No, I am, just like in 5e, I am never gonna consider the Barbarian. I know that sounded depressing, but it is depressing. I want them to boost it. I want to play this class. I've never played a Barbarian before. Have you?
I did, yeah. In a one-shot, that is, though. I think this was like maybe the first few months of the time that I played. I played a champion Barbarian, and I know I joked about that in the fighter video.
Oh.
But yeah, I also didn't know the game at the start.
Dang,
I crit fished. Yeah, I crit fished as Barbarian Raging.
You optimized hard, huh?
But my first character was also a Moon Druid because some site online told me it was the best.
Oh, Moon Druid! You can go big!
I won't say which site, but yeah.
That's so funny, I didn't know that.
I work at Tabletop Build now.
Anyways.
That's it, guys.
End of video. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.